And to Nigeria now, and a key summit to fight militant group Boko Haram. French President Francois Hollande has hailed Nigeria's efforts against the group. He was in Abuja at the weekend to meet with Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari. Several other regional heads of state were there too. Saturday's special security summit also tackled the plight of those displaced by Boko Haram. The UN Security Council has called the meeting a crucial one. The Council's been highlighting its concerns when it comes to the Nigerian militant group. While the Nigerian military has claimed several victories against Boko Haram, President Hollande says it remains a threat.
We'll meet the heads of state of the neighboring countries to discuss what further means can be put in place. It's also thanks to France for taking its responsibilities, because France has been supporting these actions through intelligence, information sharing, training, and by providing equipment to support all actions undertaken by the multinational joint task force. And it's this cohesion, this solidarity, this strategy, which has enabled the success that we are witnessing.
And we need to know people in that area to convince you of the successes scored by this government with the help of G7, of course, including France, in terms of training, helping to train our especially military, provision of military software and hardware, and to keep on pushing Boko Haram out of Nigeria.
Right, let's get you more on this story now. I'm joined live from Abuja by CCTV's Sophia Adengo. Sophia, let's start with the fact that the Nigerian military is claiming various successes, several victories against Boko Haram. But we heard Francois Hollande himself say that the group remains a major threat to the region. What is the latest on the fight against Boko Haram?
Well, when French President Francois Hollande arrived on Saturday, his first order of business was to meet privately with President Muhammadu Buhari on this very issue, Boko Haram, and its spread in the region. Now, it was hoped by President Buhari that France would come forward with some kind of military support and hardware, but France at the moment has said that they will provide intelligence and training to about 1,000 special troops here in Nigeria, as well as providing humanitarian support in the displacement of the persons in the northeast specifically. Now, Boko Haram, as you know, has been waging war in Nigeria for almost 7 years and has seen almost 20,000 people die, almost 2.5 million people displaced. And it is now that this consensus of international heads like Francois Hollande and representatives from the United States who have placed a greater focus in securing the West African region and in going forward, especially after this regional summit, to make sure that Boko Haram does not spread outside of this Lake Chad Basin area where they operate, and hopefully within the amendments and the agreements that have been signed as a result of this regional summit, that Boko Haram will indeed be de-escalated, as has been on a very high momentum these last year or so by the Nigerian military. Lindy.
And just tell us a little bit more about the weekend's summit. We know, of course, that beyond Francois Hollande, there were other heads of state there too. What were some of the outcomes from this meeting of regional heads of state?
Well, Lindy, firstly, you must understand that the region has taken on this fight through a multinational joint task force, about 9,000 troops that operate between the borders of Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, Niger, and also Benin, in an effort to consolidate troops in the fight directly against Boko Haram. Within the regional summit, we saw that, the international bodies, for example, the French president saying that although he has provided reconnaissance efforts as well as training of troops, at the moment what they are addressing is really this humanitarian crisis that's unfolding in the area, and therefore would provide almost $100 million in the effort in rehabilitating persons who have been displaced. This comes on top of a $40 million pledge by the United States and providing humanitarian support as well. So that is one of the outcomes that has been seen. Also, renewed efforts by regional heads here in signing new agreements in providing not only more troops in the fight against Boko Haram, but also making an impassioned plea, especially to the UN Security Council, not to have the Boko Haram insurgency go unnoticed for as long as it has, in petitioning the UN to provide more in terms of weaponry and also manpower in terms of troops and air surveillance in locating these concentrated cells that Boko Haram is now operating from. So, you know, the outcomes that have been a part of this regional summit is really the dialogue and taking a final look at the threat of growing terrorism here in the region. Lindy.
And Sophia, what has been the reaction then to reports that ISIL's growing influence could see Boko Haram being pushed further into neighboring countries?
Well, a visiting United States envoy, spoke this last week saying that, there has been increasing evidence that Boko Haram is linking directly to Daesh, or what we know as ISIL, especially in the area of Libya. But, Nigeria, especially northern Nigeria, is very much a part of what is known as the Sahel region, which is a geographical location that spans the northern part of Nigeria well into areas of Niger, Chad, Central African Republic, and even into Somalia. And these areas have been located over years by the UN as recruitment, very, very fertile recruitment areas for, terrorist activity. So this is not necessarily the word coming in that ISIL is very much aligned with, with Boko Haram. There are other terrorist cells that are operating and growing within the region that also require, concerted effort in addressing. And this is really what the regional summit was about, is raising these, these alarming issues that perhaps Boko Haram has now reached out to organizations like ISIL, who can provide funding and financing in their growth, and also recruiting well across Africa in providing more, members to growing terrorism globally. Lindy.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much. Sophia Dengo live for us there in Abuja on that update with regards to the regional summit to fight Boko Haram.